get control of the bottom side waves with the Renekton too, I won't hate it as much, but because I think Renekton is very strong in this meta, but if you can win everywhere else too, or at least not lose really hard, you can't put all your eggs in the Renekton basket. Yeah. Sivir also banned. I think this is really smart from T1, saying, okay, well, Yuumi also open. If you guys first pick Renekton, we'll take Yuumi Zeri, and you guys will not have the Sivir response. So I think T1's drafting this series has been, they're leading, and Dawon are following. I think they're playing a lot more reactionary, and this can be an issue. Let's see what this final ban does end up being here. You can see that Sivir ban, Dawon's like, oh, they know the plan. Will be the Nautilus once again.
We did see that in game 1.
Yeah.
Where we considered that the Zeri could be a pick for T1, and we were a little bit confused. But let's see this first pick. The moment of truth.
I think it has to be Yuumi. If it's Renekton, we are seriously concerned. Not because Renekton is weak, but because of what they have given in exchange.
I'm not surprised. I'm just disappointed. Wolf.
Yeah. And T1 have the world of possibilities here. With Lucian and Sivir banned, and Duckdom hasn't looked fantastic on the Draven pick.
It's not going to be a Kali.
I mean, Kalista is also open, which is crazy, but I mean, if you pick Kalista here, you're just saying, like, I dare you to play the Yuumi lane. We're going to play hard on the bottom side, and if you do want to play the Yuumi and Zeri, we are going to crush you in the 2v2, and it won't matter what the Renekton lane on the top side ends up going towards. And there's a lot of funny hovers here, but it will absolutely not be those picks. Kalista Wukong, strong setup here for early game dominance on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah. I'm a little bit surprised they didn't go for the Yuumi Zeri, just in terms of pure power. I know there is stuff that can potentially be picked to try to win the lane, try to get them very far behind.
And they are willing to play the Draven.
Yeah. So there's that as well.
Yeah. I thought we might be going down a different path here for Dawon Kia, but they are going to fight fire with fire. And I think this is bold, but also smart from Dawon. If they could pull it off, of course, and will mitigate some of the pressure from that Kalista lane bottom side. It's also something they haven't looked fantastic at in the past. This Braum is great because it's also somewhat of a Ornn deterrent. And we know the Amumu is coming here in the support slot. No shocker there with Renata being banned. I think Dawon Kia is showing a lot of confidence in this draft, and that's one thing I could definitely say about their start here. We'll see the Showmaker Taliyah taken off the board from T1. Though my point we made earlier in the points of the match about Gumusi in his late game, he hasn't looked amazing unless he's very far ahead. The Zeri Yuumi into Draven that Canyon could have picked up here would mean that one small mistake from Guma means that the game has to go down that late game Zeri route, and T1 haven't looked as comfortable on that late game carry, so I think that may be one reason why they do end up grabbing the Kalista.
Yeah. Kalista's great in her own right. Obviously going to be a very dominant lane. The Azir ban, not a surprise. The Ahri already taken away from Faker. The next on the mid-tier list is Sylas. Obviously, the Taliyah also taken away here from Showmaker, so maybe we see something a little bit different in this mid lane.
LeBlanc still open. I think could be a ban to consider here for Dawon Kia if they want to take that one away from Faker. We don't know what the matchup's going to be just yet, but something that we did see in the playoffs early on was Quirky, who made a return. I don't think that really suits either of these compositions very well, especially with the Trundle being banned here. The Aatrox ban I like a lot more because this is essentially saying we're going to win Renekton topside here, and the bottom lane's going to be more stable for us as Dawon. Don't want to give you guys the ability to actually duel out against a Renekton and win those mid-game fights with this Kalista. Want to weaken your power there. The Azir ban, a similar vein. But this does mean Sylas comes through. There's no Trundle on the other side. The Trundle was banned away, so I think a smart move from T1. No way to really duel around first objective very well right now in Dawon's comp against this. Unless they can find another way to get mid-prio. And I do wonder what that's going to be for Showmaker here. We've seen the Lissandra work very well for him this season. We've seen Victor into the Sylas. Very middling success. This is the big question mark right now.
Danny's got something to say about that. Let's see what he has to say, because Showmaker has not said anything just yet. as this is not an easy decision. The LeBlanc can be pretty good into the Sylas, and it looks like that is what will be selected.
A lot of backline access is normally what you grab LeBlanc for, but T1's composition just in general has very high resistances. Oh, it's the old Quinn response to the Renekton to be hovered here. This would be very interesting. It would allow T1 to have 2 late game threats in terms of 80 range damage, but I like the Gnar here much more. I think as Dawon, you want to win these fights early with LeBlanc, trying to not necessarily blows the backline up, but actually just add that extra chain CC, maybe threaten Gnar, prevent him from getting the Gnar bar up, stuff like that. But otherwise, this LeBlanc pick isn't threatening much. Like, Kalista is very survivable, and Sylas is very survivable. Wukong, not that squishy. So I think really is going to be about the laning phase. Can Dawon Kia get ahead? Can they get those early objectives under their control? Can they buy a lot of time that way, get a cash in early for this Draven, and accelerate the game in their favor? If not, once again, I definitely have to throw my hat into the T1 ring in terms of who I think has the better draft here. Just like Game 1, Dawon have a different approach to how they want to handle this meta, but it's high risk, and the coordination and the execution has to be very good and much better than it was in Game 1.
I do think that Dawon, at least, if they get a snowball rolling, it can be very annoying to deal with this, right? Renekton on one item, you've got LeBlanc on one item, Draven on a couple. From ahead, there's a lot of ways to just be extremely annoying. The LeBlanc poke with the Draven we've seen before as well. Just looking for executes even before a game or a fight even really begins. So that can definitely happen. The side of T1, definitely a bit more all-in outside of boomerangs, you know, or Sylas stealing an ultimate or something like that.
Yeah, that's definitely true. On T1, though, they're basically fighting fire with this draft, and if they win, their comp snowballs, I think, even harder. So this is my biggest fear for Dawon Kia is T1 actually winning those early skirmishes, getting a lead, and just like in Game 1, taking control of the whole map.
Could definitely happen. That is what happened in Game number 1. So let's see if T1 can do it again here as we hop onto the Rift for Game 2.
Remember Valdez? Oh, well, we don't have time to remember.
No remembering! Faker's getting in there. This is a fantastic composition to invade with, and they're looking for Bertle. Not really having much. Faker's tanking turret as well, looking for an angle, but not going to amount to anything outside of Bertle's flash, which is going to be very nice.
Yeah, Dawon Kia were like looking at Showmaker. Are you feeling lucky? You think you can find him? Not going to be able to commit. This will mean Dawon get vision around both jungle starts here for Owner, and if he had decided to start blue here, would find himself in a miserable position. He is not, of course, going to be doing that, and Dawon will try to potentially set up a 3-buff for the Poppy here into the Wukong early, and they see him. Pings come down instantly. Uma just going to come over here and try to check this. But
yeah.
No, not really that much CC in this comp at level 1, so it's fine.
Yeah, just going to be Canyon picking this one up. Good information for T1 at least.
Well, I was going to ask you if you remembered, which I know you do. It was a rhetorical question I was going to ask. Remember when it was Corki Azir at the beginning of the season?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
This is the exact opposite of that. Is fight all the time, fight aggressively. Every lane is supposed to win on both teams. Speaking of, we're like still fighting potentially here.
Yeah, so level 2 here. It looks like Owner pretty confident to take this with the red buff. But Phase Rush going to be very nice for Poppy to just say no to that fight.
And T1's gamble on the level 1's nearly leading to a kill on a Bertle. Grab his flash, which is quite significant. But right now, Canyon, the biggest recipient, the biggest winner of this exchange at the moment. Bottom side prio here, level 2 hit first for Duckdom and Kellen. This is a very annoying lane to play out now as Guma. Obviously, once he hits level 2, still a little bit more power there, but the level 1 is where you want.
Yeah, and Sylas nowadays, the laning phase it was never really where he looked for his power, unless you're in like solo queue or something like that, potentially, but even then. As Faker is going to be poked out just a bit, and Showmaker has a hefty amount of LeBlanc games under his belt as well. Not quite the number that Faker has, but still 30 games of experience in the LCK alone.
Owner's going to come up here and potentially try to punish this extra prio setup that Showmaker's looking for. I mean, he's damaging the turret plate, but he's vulnerable.
Faker definitely trying to sell it here a bit, but no distortion does come in. And so Showmaker's totally fine.
Yep, doesn't commit to the distortion, so only easy. And there's unfortunately no follow-up CC from Faker there or Owner with level 6. So, not a successful gank, but it does relieve some of the pressure, allows Faker to back here. Canyon's coming over one more time. Does not actually commit to his blue buff here, wants to set up for a potential dive. Or catch a Wukong coming over here to set up defensively.
Yeah, I think they did spot Canyon coming in here, as Canyon will be spotted now, and they're just going to engage onto him as in comes the rest of the team, but immediately, you're already so deep in here, and Duckdom takes 2 turret shots. Keria will not even go down, and a disaster for Dawon Kia. T1 reads him like a book and wins this early game.
Could have just backed off and taken his blue buff and taken a 3-buff start and been very happy with the lead he had while they already had bottom prio. This draft is better from ahead, but you're the side that has the LeBlanc, you're the side that has the Renekton, you know, that's going to naturally start to win out against this Gnar in the lane. They tried to force this so hard, and 2 kills over to the Kalista on Dawon's play is just a disaster.
Yeah, Canyon really trying to force these ganks to happen. Zeus looks like he knows this is coming. Can he get out of this one is the question. He's just going to hop onto his minion.
Steadfast is so early, he gets the hop.
I mean, it's Canyon with no buffs because he just died, right? So it's like, oh, okay. And he's not even farming. Definitely feeling a bit desperate here for the Dawon Kia jungler.
Yeah, just really forced, unfortunately. And I get the idea, you know, you had a lead from T1's, you know, level 1 not going the way they wanted it to, but this is just really aggressive. With the ward here, Karius just instantly bandage tosses him, and then Duckdom tanks turret shots here on the dive. You know, that's the end of it. Like, there's nothing else to explain here. It was a call that was made, and Kellen will lose his flash as well.
Yeah.
The damage is high at this stage, obviously on the Amumu, or rather on the Draven, but not that high.
Kerry is having a great time, by the way. He was smiling in game number 1, and now even, you know, shouting, oh, I'm going to live, or maybe he was saying I was going to die. I don't know, it was too loud, but then he gave us the thumbs up and the good. He's having a good time, and he should be. Things are going very well for him and his partner down here on the bottom side in the bottom lane. And yeah, Owner just here once again, right there for his team. You see that the Draven is going to get ahead in CS, but it's not going to make up for the 2 kills that Guma has.
Yeah, he'll need a cash out before we can start talking about him reaching parity. Does have a small experience lead here too, so it's not all for naught, and he will still be able to control this lane. But the unfortunate truth is that T1 have such a massive amount of gold on this Kalista now that the Draven won't be able to keep up in these mid-game fights. And that's kind of the tipping point for both of these teams, is who wins those first few objective fights. The first Drake fight, or if there isn't one, you know, who gets the Drake and who gets the Herald. So you can see it's a 4-2 right now. Guma, 3 of those wins on this Draven.
Distortion gonna miss, but the chains will hit as trying to steal a Poppy ult, but that's not going to land. Just kind of just dash through as Canyon is on the follow here. Will flash as well, but Owner is right nearby. Can Faker live? The Kingslayer at the last moment as the flash in from Showmaker will secure the kill. As now you've got Bertol coming in from the top lane, actually, and now Owner's in a bit of trouble. Trying to get this kill onto a Poppy, not going to happen at low health, and DK were able to pull off 2 kills here for Showmaker.
Yeah, Owner was, I don't think, even really very close to level 6. You see Canyon's only halfway through his experience right now on that regard. If he had 6, of course, you could turn this around very well. I thought it was a cool attempt, but he ends up getting trapped there as Dawon Kia ready to pull the trigger. And Dawon, now 2 kills on one of their carries here. The LeBlanc getting very far ahead of the Sylas here. Faker gets caught out. And now this game gets a lot more interesting. So we have 2 strong points for these 2 teams. So I think the Kalista are going to look a little bit better at this stage for those first few objectives. But LeBlanc getting sped up quite significantly towards her later parts of this game. And gets Luden, has a lot of extra poke potential here and setting up fights. And just like that, you know, the game can turn on a knife's edge. Dawon Kia take a slight gold lead here.
Yeah, it means that the LeBlanc hits a one-item power spike extremely early on, and I think it's going to be in the hands of Showmaker to really try to make this early game theirs.
Canyon's charge there stops him from using the ult against him, as Faker has obviously level 6 advantage. Owner comes over, and the Kingslayer heals him up, but it's a flash from Showmaker to secure the kill as Owner continues to go back in here and gets chained and knocked into the wall. Like, this was not the fight Owner was looking for, unfortunately. Very optimistic, especially considering that Zeus did not come down. Owner was there. If he did, it would have been even worse, I think. But kind of an odd choice by Owner to decide to not walk away from that loss and try to turn it around.
Yeah, it was definitely a very close play. A little bit of a risky one there. But either way, big rotation now up to the first Rift Herald, which has been the name of the game here for these two teams. We had a huge fight break out in game number 1. Take a look at the vision control right now from T1.
Yeah,
it is insanely in the lead for them.
Owner has 6 now, and he is unseen on a control ward. They all committed to control ward buys here to make sure they could spring traps, but Dawon Kia playing this very patiently, clearing out the bottom side of the vision. Now Faker's isolated a little bit.
Keria looking to come in. He's going to find Duck Dom, looking for that big mummy trap as he will force the cleanse and the flash out of Duck Dom, but a huge whirling death from behind is going to secure a kill for him. As now fighting front to back though, Guma pretty fed, looking for that damage. Faker will be able to pick up the kill, and the chase is still on. This team can chase so easily with this comp as Flash comes in, looking for Duck Dom, who is flashless. But did you go too far? The answer looks to be yes, as Showmaker with blue buff is looking to get in there. Faker still trying to zone for his team and will take down Duck Dom with a huge coup, still alive, and even zones away Showmaker, who's trying to scout here with his clone, but will not be able to follow up.
Yeah, not going to be able to get close enough to Faker to take him out. Canyon does have Hex Flash, but no regular Flash. Isn't going to be chasing him down either. Birdall teleports mid, and the Herald was not taken in all of this, so looking to actually have a bit of a teleport war here of attrition as we see this wave shoved through from Birdall so they can actually get onto this one. Canyon does not back. He's super low and might have to smite here early. I think Birdall should be able to pull the aggro away from him. Looks like he will be fine, but still, T1, you have to be aware of the fact that they can rotate into this choke point. They don't have control vision there, but Kellen set up. They will take this one away. Very close fight there, but I think the Kalista lead actually being so huge for T1.
This is what the LeBlanc can do already. Well, not even on the Ludens. Thought I saw its proc there, but I guess it must have been the electrocute. Either way, still an insane amount of damage already in this game.
Yeah, this fight for T1 was so forced, I think, based on the angle that the Cyclone was set up for, and the damage is real here. Like, they don't get the combo they were looking for with the Curse of the Sad Mummy, but they still just have so much raw damage in skirmishes with the Kalista, with the Silas. Like, Dawon Kia don't really have a mid lane that could do that same sort of damage output long-term at this stage in the game, but then they chase a little bit too far here. Dawon Kia will trade back some kills and grab the Rift Herald. Very close fight, however, that I think T1, despite the engage not being perfect for them, I mean, it was very good. Still, they end up winning the fight. Not enough health bars there at the end to secure Herald, which will go into Damon's favor. So still a very close game at this stage.
Yeah, although we're looking to get on top of a Braum here. Kellen doesn't have anything, so he looks to be dead. Oh, he has a stopwatch. Missed that one. Might be able to save him as Guma is going to pull the Ren. And actually, it's Keria who is taken out. That's another kill, as this game is going a little bit off the rails as Guma now on the run. As this Kalista flash on in from Canyon with the slow, should be able to select that kill, as Faker not quite able to lock down another for himself.
Yeah, this is what these two compositions are looking to do, is to fight all the time, fight nonstop. They both have high damage and the burst, plus good CC, especially in T1's composition here. So the fighting and the skirmishing nonstop is what T1 want to do, but I think they also need to respect a little bit of the power in Dawon's comp defensively, especially when they give some extra time.
Dominus here on the top side. Zeus is getting pretty low, not quite at that Mega Gnar. He's trying to make it happen, and actually, in the Mini Gnar, will just be able to walk it out.
We'll survive here. Trade of the, well, I guess no ultimate expired here for Zeus, but we'll get Birdall's Dominus, but he wins out in the exchange, and we'll be able to push this wave in. First Drake Still not taken. We're reaching the 13-minute mark here, just like game one. A very late first Drake, but Dawon should now have enough control over the map to do said Drake, as they have vision control on both top and bottom of it, and Dawon is going to have this extra push. And they did not see the Gnar backing. Zeus has teleport. So still a lot of considerations here on the map for Dawon Kia. They can't just start this up because it's very tanky now. Bertol will need to be here if they want to take a 5v5, but they had so much control and they really didn't use it here. This is the kind of stuff we were criticizing Dawon for against KT.
This one's pretty close. That smite is used early from Owner, trying to burst that one down so they don't even have the scuttle vision. Vision control taken by Dawon. And very scary, as you mentioned, on both sides. You can pull the trigger and you can engage if you want to. So for T1 without vision, they're like, oh, well, we can't really enter that river right now, especially without Mega Gnar, which Zeus is trying to build up at this point in time. As the Rift Herald will go in full money here for Canyon, as the LeBlanc will not be further boosted.
Yeah, Dawon still just trying to get a little bit more vision here instead of actually starting the Drake up, despite the damage they have in this composition. I mean, the shield bow's been done for a while here for Dawon, and he's Draven. He has a lot of stats. He does a lot of single target damage. Just wants to continue to build up some more stacks over here, sitting on 61 as he pushes this through. And Dawon are just saying, I don't want to start a fight first because your comp is also good at skirmishing, and if we use any cooldowns or lose any health on the Drake, that might just do us in. Even if we have this immense amount of vision control around that part of the map, you're joking about the Corki Azir handshake. This is like the Draven Kalista sword clash. You know, like this. Both of these teams want to fight all the time, and fights like this where it looks like you have the jump on a support, but he has stopwatch, and then you're like, oh man, Dawon Kia also have a ton of damage. Watch this Amumu just disappear. It's crazy how much damage the Draven has. You have to respect that. The stopwatch buys just enough time for him to get there, and you can see just how variable these fights are. The volatility of these two drafts and the clash is so insanely high, and that's why this game is so high kill so early here, and why Dawon, despite having insane vision control, do not start up that first Mountain Drake, which is now at 15 minutes, still untaken.
It looks like Carry is clearing vision. I've got my eye on that objective now. Very curious to see when that one is going to go down. The Amumu at this point obviously cannot solo it, so that's not going to happen. The top lane looks like Bertol taking more and more aggressive trades, which means that, you know, he has been able to gather himself a slight CS victory here, which is pretty common for the Renekton, as now T1 setting up for this Drake. Looks like they do want to make a potential try at it. Maybe they'll just clear vision and back away again.
Yeah, I mean, that is what it looks like. This Renekton pick doesn't have first item just yet. Still having some trouble putting the pressure onto Zeus' Gnar. We haven't really mentioned it. The Gnar pick, we liked it in the draft, but it is important to note that it has fallen off massively, but it is also Zeus' Gnar. And only players like Zeus, I think, would be confident enough to pull this one out into a Renekton. He's laning super well.
Ooh, nice Everfrost says the trade heavily taken by Faker, or was it a bait all along? The Poppy alone can't really force that further trade. Stopwatch available here for Faker as well. And yeah, you know, in the draft, it does feel like T1 are playing a little bit of, you know, patch 12.10 or 12.11, you know, the Silas Gnar coming back out. Yeah. It's pretty interesting to see. I think Zeus on his Gnar, I mean, able to do stuff like this. He nearly was able to get that last auto. Don't think it would have killed, but still. Dawon Kia are just going to finally collect this Drake.
So after pushing Canyon back, they knew they had jungle control topside there. Zeus has the range advantage, wants to build up his Gnar bar, and they look for a gank onto the Renekton. But the second they pull the trigger topside, Dawon Kia spring onto the Drake bottom side. So Dawon reading the map very well here. Had so much vision control still of this bottom objective. Now trying to rush over here and deny.
Is still available, so that's a Gnar gone. And this is getting pretty low. Canyon in smite range, and it goes to Canyon as well. The fight here looking to be taken, but the bandage is going to miss from Carrier. They're still trying to get on top of this Renekton as the dominance taken here by Faker, and he will survive for quite a long period of time as in goes Showmaker. He's going to collect that one very sneakily on the backside of that fight.
Dom's getting a turret.
Yeah, so that's a full turret for him as Showmaker is going to be so slippery here. So still this game very much on a knife set.
It really is. Dawon Kia walk away with the eye and a turret, but T1 getting the kill. Still walking away with a victory here in terms of getting that extra gold from the kill, but what it means on the map for Dawon Kia, who already have a lead in Drake, I think they definitely went out on this exchange, and had Dawon been there, I think there's a real world where they crush that fight, but he was already kind of halfway committed to taking down turrets, so he decides to stay for that. Notice how late he is to this fight. He doesn't have teleport like Faker does, so I feel like Faker can actually join into this fight right away. By the time Dawon gets here, he's like probably too late, so decides to back away. As soon as the fight goes south and Dawon Kia try to retreat, he instantly makes the call to push mid. You can see that there on the minimap as Birdall. Yeah, he's chain CC'd. Dawon Kia want to maybe turn this one around, but without their Draven, they cannot make it happen. And T1 would have just retreated topside if he had rotated over. So the eye, we'll see where that ends up getting dropped. It was picked up by the LeBlanc, so she'll get some value out of a turret if she does get it down. You do, of course, have plates on.
Just throw a bot, and that's going to be 2 turrets taken already by the side of Dawon Kia. That's a huge amount of map control, and in games that are this close, it's so fantastic to get big vision leads like that early on.
They zoned Faker out as well from these minions. He couldn't come out down here and get any of that stuff. They almost stopped his back too, and this might just be an extra charge. Look at the defensive setup they have on the bottom side of the jungle here. There's no way for T1 to come over here easily and contest without really forcing, which means that Draven gets free mid push, even if they take this Herald out, which they do. But Dawon gets a little bit more control here, and T1 just barely hold this off without any losses. Minus the turret itself, like past the first turret, and just barely defend.
Top lane still being defended by Birdall. He has not let go of that one just yet. The CS numbers more even at this point in time. Zeus has been more and more annoying after completing his Trinity Force already. He does have a nice, about 1,000 gold in the lead for himself. Really, a big chunk of Dawon Kia's gold lead was in the jungle, where we did see Canyon about almost like 2,000 gold ahead of his opponent in Owner.
So let's talk about how these two team comps are going to collapse into each other later on in the game. Like we're already 20 minutes in. It feels like we're trapped in early game because of the amount of skirmishing we've had and stuff because of these two comps. So we haven't really seen a straight up 5v5 fight. They've been crazy fights for early objectives, or just fights, of course, around skirmishes on top side or bottom side, ganks gone wrong, etc. What both of these comps have are a lot of damage with very low range. Obviously, LeBlanc is the exception to the rule here because she can do damage with her Ludens and can do damage from far away and try to assassinate somebody. But that's going to rely on a little bit of vision control for Dawon Kia, which they've been good about on objectives. Haven't been able to get deep wards because this game is so close. But then also what the fights will happen with these fights besides the low range damage is how that is set up via CC. And I think T1 have the far superior set of that between the Amumu ult, Cyclone, Gnar, and Sylas, who has Everfrost. So in terms of how everything has happened so far, we're still sitting at only a 400 lead for Dawon, which is now no longer the case with that turret going down bottom side. It's very even, like we're basically dead even in terms of gold. I think T1's comp is much easier to pull off in the later parts of the game. And we'll see how these fights do end up looking because Dawon Kia kind of coasting through this with a nice LeBlanc 2-0-2. Draven getting that cash out early. Has a lot of gold himself, picked up a collector early. But will they be able to team fight in a straight up 5v5 when T1 have so many options for CC is the real question. And I think Showmaker is going to have to be the difference maker. He's going to have to be the one who threatens the backline and has to maybe threaten the Kalista once or twice, or try to bring the Gnar low while he's trying to set up for his Gnar bars. Stuff like that is what Dawon Kia need in terms of X Factor here, because their CC in terms of Wombo and straight up fights, not as good as what T1 have to offer. Their single target is insane.
Yeah, I have a lot of my faith in Showmaker, who's nearing this Shadow Flame already, right? Like, he's already doing his job very nicely, just hopping in, poking damage. Now, Dawon can't get caught like this, as Faker is looking to just take him down. Dawon will flash away, but Kellen looks to bite the dust. As in goes Zeus as well, looking for the kill onto the 80 carry, and he will be able to pick it up as another crazy skirmish breaks out here. Showmaker picks up a kill onto the Gnar who dove. Also, Canyon goes in and takes out the Gnar, so turns once again into a bit of an even trade, but T1 with the slight victory.
Yeah, T1 the slight advantage, and that might be enough to grab the second Drake of the game here. Showmaker looking for some poke. Chains won't hit. This is still a very difficult fight to take here against T1 because they have a Kalista. She's going to be doing massive damage here, 3v2. Canyon just looking for a steal and walk away.
Yeah, might be able to, as nope, it's going to be Kalista with the Rend pull at the end of the day, as now on the chase here. It doesn't look like Uma will continue after getting Chilling smited
Now we colloquially call that the second smite here in League of Legends because of how much damage it does when you pull that out. And it was a tough steal attempt there from Canyon, but really at no risk to him, so might as well go for it. But this is just the CC I was talking about for T1 at work here. Kellen will go down. Zeus has an amazing set of plays here, or, dive CC setups to try to kill Duckdown with burst damage. He is picked. They also do collapse here with Birdall onto Faker and trade one more kill back there. But T1 trade up, they grab the Drake. And again, this is still not a 5v5 fight per se. It's a very big skirmishy one.
Yeah.
But Showmaker, I mean, the more money he gets, the more of an impact he makes, and he still hasn't died yet. He's still ahead of the curve right now. And I'm liking the threat that he could put off in this game, as you were saying. He's already doing his job very well. But he can't be giving these Drakes over to T1 if he can help it.
And this has got to stop happening for Duckdown. He's just going to die. Like, this is just him getting picked so many times. He's died 4 times. And that's just a free Baron now for T1. I mean, it's an excellent pick once again. T1 are finding every single angle.
Yeah, and it's a flash Gnar. From far away, you think you're safe. You're not safe. Not against this composition.
There's just too many threats, as you were saying. There's just too many ways to get on top of Dawon. And T1 are playing this out beautifully. Canyon trying to get close, but he just gets a moo-mooed in the face. And that will be T1 securing the Baron.
So that's another objective going down after a mid-tussle goes up in T1's favor. And it's kind of funny considering that the turret that's still up for Dawon in the mid lane, I think is why they have felt safe to farm like this. But the turret has actually kept the wave in such a space where T1 could threaten more.
A little bit of a play here as the Braum is knocked away, and T1 are turning this one around. Huge Cyclone onto the both of them on the second application, as that is going to be enough. Zeus is going deep now, and he is so tanky with all this gold and the Baron buff. This game was so close, and now it is so one-sided. T1 are just pushing down the mid lane and taking lives.
They have Baron still, and they're going to push even further here, I think. Maybe take out an inhibitor. I mean, we're 25 minutes into the game. It doesn't feel like it because it feels like it's just been a non-stop early game. We could never get out of mid. T1 are like, I think we might be able to get even more here.
And Showmaker's like, man, what do I got to do? Like, like 3-0-3 on the LeBlanc, just not able to do enough. Tries to get a double distortion, immediately goes into the stopwatch, and that might be his demise, actually. As he does get the 1 kill, and T1 are just continuing. As it is a little bit risky, but at the end of the day, with the Baron buff, it should just be enough. They're going to target down this Nexus and end again in 25 minutes. T1, they weren't winning, and then all of a sudden, they were dominating.
And it's right as we were talking about the CC and the setups they have and the hard engage that T1 has. You play around that mid-turret. Dawon and Kia felt so safe on that mid-turret. Both of those plays, they were like, oh, we've got the extra turret.